Right, let's get started. Right, hello everyone. So looks like we're up. Can we confirm? Yep, I think we are.
Yeah.
All right, welcome to the Meshery Build and Release meeting, February 22nd. So let's start with the agenda. First runner-up is Daniel. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Hi all. Let me share my screen and then I'll give some context and then where I am. Okay. So I'm working on an end-to-end test for MeshSync to ensure that whatever to at least build more confidence whenever people submit pull requests. As essentially what I'm doing is building a local image of MeshSync and then replacing that to the actual MeshSync deployment, Meshery deployment using Meshery CTL. And then I'm just deploying a simple Kubernetes pod and then checking at the other end of the pipeline whether it's being discovered or not. As per last meeting, I had a lot of sleep statements, and that made the test a bit flaky. I was able to more or less, and I was using them to sort of try and see, give the services some time to build up or come into progress before I remove them. So instead, the much better approach was to just check the status of the actual services or pods that I want to interact with before I initiate the actual tests. And then we also had some Istio components configuration, but since we are not explicitly testing for Istio, then I was supposed to remove remove them actually. And then Meshery CTL system checks were not working correctly to the end. They were failing at some point, so I had to do a complete overhaul of that and find out why it's failing. So I removed the Istio components that were there. But then when I was doing Meshery CTL system check, I realized that we have several versions of the same command. We have optional parameters and we have the full check. The full check requires an adapter to be deployed as part of the Meshery deployment. So I read a bit into the documentation and I found we have at least a pre-flight check which checks for the environment if you have Docker or Kubernetes and ensures that it's well configured, and then an operator test that ensures the required services are actually running. So it will check that Meshery is running, MeshSync is running, and Meshery operator is running. So I was able to resolve that system checks with that, and also remove the Istio components from configuration. Now, the last part that I still have one more sleep statement here, and that is after I've deployed the service with Meshery CTL.
Daniel, sorry to interrupt. Hold on a second. Okay, good. So we have workflows that do this already, right? That deploy Meshery, get it set up on a Kubernetes cluster, the ones that I pointed out to you previously. Is this the same ones or is this new? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. It's the same. I've already used a lot of it, and the actual work that I'm actually adding is from here.
Nice. Okay, wait. Hold on. Good. Although you're doing a naughty thing, you're copying and pasting. That just means more work, more things for us to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
What Do you know what you could do instead?
I can import that particular yeah, use that particular GitHub action at this point.
Nice. Yeah. Do you know the particular? So his
Yeah,
next question.
I know the particular one. Adapters V2 test.
Oh, nice. Okay. Rather, I was going to ask, do you know the particular, right? You'd either dispatch a workflow, which is probably what you would do, or I forget the other one. It's like a repo level dispatch, but there isn't directly an import statement in workflows, but rather just a way of like remotely dispatching one to the next. And was the intention to run this? The intention is for this to be housed inside of the mesh sync repo, right? Or that's the context in which you're writing it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I don't know if there's a centrally configured workflow for deploying Meshery into Kubernetes. I don't know, it escapes me how it is that you might be able to leverage that if it's remotely defined in a different repo, how you can leverage it in your current workflow if it is not published as a GitHub action. And so it might need to be published as a GitHub action. Yeah, there's the, yeah. So does anybody else have feedback here? Daniel, if you were to look at, is it literally a copy and paste from like 110 above?
Yes, mostly. Yeah. Yep.
Because the small things are going to come back to bite you, and this is what makes it hard to sustain, and that is one of the things like a timeout, the use of a timeout. It is maybe the only thing that we can do, but it's bothersome. Where you sleep, anytime where you sleep or you have a timeout, it's like it's I don't know. It's like it's one of those things that it'll come back to bite you. I guess while you're in a loop doing a check before it times out, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so you're checking every how often?
It's on a per second basis.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, so either what you're writing here is an enhancement to, yeah, every time you like sleep five or something, like it's brittle. You're just asking for trouble. It's depend, like, yep. Does anybody else have suggestions on how that can be done? To be more event driven or reactive? To potentially break it down into different steps in the workflow, maybe one is a prerequisite to the others, the other one finishing and passing it off to the other. I'm not sure that might help instead of one bash script. As we do like the Meshery CTL system.
Isn't there a kubectl command to wait for specific condition? So we reuse.
I don't know.
I'm looking for one right now. It
Anyway,
says kube. I can send the details, but it's a kubectl wait for condition, and then if that's what we're doing, right? Basically, yeah. You mean between line 122, those sleep fives?
yeah, something like yeah.
Yeah, 122, 126. Yeah. Yep. Here's a Stack Overflow. Here's like a detail of like an approach. I'm sure there's a bit more of docs about
Nice.
like
Okay. Yeah.
alternatives. Another one is a rollout status. Wait until
Yeah.
a deployment, but you would need to take a look if scaled replica zero deployment would like what's the better approach for that. But yeah, it looks like you could just pass on what's the condition you're waiting for, and then kubectl would do the heavy lifting for you on those sleep fives. That's all.
Okay. So key takeaways, I think so far, from this portion up, if we could have this as a GitHub action, at least from the layer 5 community, so that it can be reused in other areas that we need to do the same. And then offload a lot of the functionalities here to kubectl. Think, any more feedback?
Yeah, yeah. So at one point we used. So I'm kind of hoping Uzair will step up and say some of this stuff so that I don't have to. Which is, we were previously using. Gosh, what was it called? It's called. I forget. BATS, BATS, Bash Automated Testing System, as a framework for writing tests in Bash and being able to assert that something is true, and just defining those more declaratively rather than sort of empirically in a script like this. And we were using that in the Linkerd adapter. No, it was the console adapter. This, Daniel, this is largely good. The reason that I'm interjecting is because this becomes something else to maintain. There will be bugs, there will be issues, and hopefully you're here to address them. But even to the extent that you are or aren't, it's still like a maintenance thing. And
Yep.
so I'm just opening up a word of caution of like, well, maybe we should use a framework like BATS if we're going to do Bash centric things, or maybe we should use a framework like Cuddle, Kuttl.
Yeah, I was actually on it.
And so we've
Yeah, which begs the question, is it worth continuing investing time on this, or we could just have a more
this is done,
feature-centric
yeah, I
solution?
mean, if this is done, like hopefully this is done and works, then sure, you should start to use it, and then you can move to Cuddle. If this isn't done and doesn't work, then like I would say, hey, I would say, to be blunt, like it's taking too long anyway, because it's been a couple of months, I think, since we've discussed that, like we would have some automated testing for mesh sync. And so, yeah, it probably doesn't make sense to continue like investing into this to have it go. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. I mean, other people have different opinions. You have an opinion. I don't know. I don't know that we can test all the things we want to with Cuddle. Largely, we need like an end-to-end. Like we just needed an end-to-end test. We already had like a deployment of Meshery. All we need to do is verify that if you deploy a thing, you get that info shows back up in Meshery. And that's something that we should already, like Uzair, I'm still waiting for you to like speak up and say like, hey, did you write an end-to-end test before? Like there should be an ad hoc connectivity test that verifies a synthetic check between Meshery and MeshSync and get something back. And that should just be built into Meshery itself. So
current synthetic tests like are not based on like this end-to-end test that Daniel is writing and whatever he spoke of like having that end-to-end connectivity, but that is different. But yeah, in Meshery we can have an ability. And to your first point, we don't need a new action to be published to reuse whatever workflows we have, Daniel. So I've pasted a link wherein like you can directly use the already existing workflow by pointing to the where that workflow lives. But yeah, we can introduce an enhancement in Meshery to have that and synthetic test in place. And in this workflow, we can just whatever during like build the meshing image, change the image, and then run Meshery or use the playground Meshery itself and do the testing. But now, can you confirm like this test, does it work? Like, does it build successfully and performs a low-level testing itself, or
Yeah.
so that we can move with this first iteration, and as soon as like Meshery built-in synthetic test is added in Meshery, we can switch over that.
Yeah, it works. We eventually find the kind of pod we're looking for.
And this is based on this, like you are adding some annotations before deploying a pod, and you are just basically asserting on that.
Yes. So I deploy a pod and I've added these labels purpose mesh sync test. So this is what I test for at the end of the pipeline.
And you are using, I saw like you were using a meshing API itself, so it is nice. And previously as well, you mentioned like Meshery CTL system pre-flight check. This command was like is not working accurately or correctly. So did you open an issue already, or still we are broken state?
Yeah, I had mentioned that. So if we do a Meshery CTL system check, the full check also expects that you have an adapter deployed, and so it will fail because it will tell you do not have an appropriate adapter. But then if I do either a pre-flight, I'm actually doing both. I'm doing a pre-flight and I'm doing a Meshery operator also with an operator flag. This both come out successful.
Yeah, and I think before merging this workflow, the first iteration itself, instead of having that while loop that you had, like waiting for like around 300 seconds, and each second we are checking out whether pod comes in, we can directly use the kubectl command that Mario pointed out. Like it is still based on like the timeout, but because it is built in kubectl, that would be a cleaner approach for now. So I think if you just made these changes, then we can merge this first iteration of end-to-end test, so that we have some kind of test going on.
Yeah, for this one, what I'm doing is I'm waiting until mesh sync discovers, or rather making continuous calls to the Meshery server and checking whether we've actually discovered the particular pod at the end of the pipeline. So this one, I don't think kubectl can help me much here.
Yeah, not this one. If you scroll above.
Oh, the previous one. Okay, yeah, this one.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, okay.
What do you mean that it wouldn't help, like for the sleeps, the other ones, or?
Oh, no. Okay. This I'll remove them. I think most of them I was using for debug purposes. I'll remove all of these sleeps.
But
they
yeah,
don't
if there's, oh, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah. They mostly I was doing it for myself. I'll need to remove them so that I'll just let things flow. But the one thing that I've picked out is for me to check the status of the deployment. Once I've scaled it up, I'll use kubectl to ensure that that deployment comes up to par.
Sure. Yeah. If there's a need to wait for the scale, the replicas to be 0 before proceeding, then you can definitely add the weights or the other one. Yeah. Cool.
Thank you. In case of any other feedback, feel free to shoot me on Slack or on the issue.
Just a comment. I've tried to summarize all these suggestions, even some that are in the chat, back to our meeting minutes. So you should see them under this agenda topic. So then you can reference them and for posterity. That's it. Anyone else has anything?
Yeah, sure. I think maybe the last point I'd like to add is, yes, okay, as much as, just to talk on Uzia's point, as much as we have like a script that will install Meshery, configure Meshery CTL and deploy it, it also it's bloated because it has other functionalities within it. So maybe you can just have one that simply installs Meshery from Meshery in a test environment. And then that can then be reused anywhere else where we just need an installation of Meshery. And then if someone needs to proceed with other tests underneath, they can do that.
Yeah, sure. We'll make sure that issue is open and we are reusing that workflow.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Is there any effort needed in like devising these or collaboration, the specific flexible shared workflow? I guess at least some documentation around what workflows we have. It'd be awesome if we could add them to the contributing guide, right? In the contributing it on the docs page, like. But yeah, definitely we can look into that. I'll just add that point and
Yeah, well,
if,
one of
if
the standing agenda items actually speaks to that. One of the previously standing agenda items, or I guess it's still there in the Meshery test plan. There's a spreadsheet called Meshery test plan. It's one of the standing agenda items. In that sheet, there is a tab called automated test builds. Maybe I'll share it so that everybody can.
oh, I have it here.
All right.
But if you want to share, you can
No,
definitely take the
awesome.
spot. It's here.
Good. I'll
Which
just
one?
point.
This one.
Yeah. And I'll be quiet. I'll just point it out.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I agree to Lee's point. We have the workflows here. Although these are like mostly like entry points, right? If one would like to reuse some of these, I guess I'm assuming most of these are like on the top level side of run X during Y on a specific events triggered on specific repos. But yeah, we could. I think what Lee's trying to point out is that we can definitely enhance it. And yeah, that'd be nice if either in the same tab or a new tab, something similar, but pointing to some guidelines as to more reusable workflows, and maybe some of them they're even already reused across these. Correct? Was that the point? Oh yeah, Lee's gone. Okay, but yeah, well, let's assume that's what he meant. So yep, let's take note of that. And the existing workflow. I'm just looking at Uzer's writing something over here. Aha, great note, thank you. Yeah. Uzer. Yeah, so it's bloated, yeah, definitely. Awesome. Anyone has anything else besides that? Yeah, we should definitely have something over here way easier to document and just reference a centralized place about testware and tools we should reuse across. Yep. And then a bug will be logged. Sounds good. Anything else? Anyone wants to add? We have some other items. Would Ripple, would you want to go next? Is he in the call?
Yes.
Sure.
Just let me share my screen.
Yes. Please stop.
We were having a issue with the goal link checks for the mystery CTL command. So whenever we raise a PR regarding the mystery CTLs, as we know that the mystery CTL docs are getting auto-generated whenever we make changes to the commands. So in the doc test, we were having some undefined types like the functions that are used in the library Go Mega, so that was giving us the error every time. So I have just changed the library by use from Go Mega to the testify that we are already using for most of our Machine CTL's command to test them. So I already ran those tests and they were working fine. Yes. So uh, just a small doubt, like I'm not sure if it's because of the Go Mega library or what, but one thing is clear: if we are using the Testify library, so these tests will won't give us the
Golin's C errors. The test will pass as they are already passed for the other commands. Like the one PR I have raised for the Go module, uh, for the components command, and for the models command. Those tests are getting passed, and no undefined functions or method is being carried out.
So, uh, if Testify is the library that we have that is widely used, so what was the reason, or are you aware of the reason of introducing Omega, or what was the
No,
reason?
it was that was the reason because of which our tests were failing. So I have just changed from Go Mega to Testify.
Yeah, he was asking
so-
if you know the genesis of the reason why we were using a separate test framework, that a separate library. And I don't think Rupul does know. I can tell you why. It's because speaking up and saying something on a meeting or in a PR, like I just did with Daniel, and arguably didn't do the best job of making him feel comfortable and supported. I don't know. Daniel may have perceived it as like me crapping on what he's doing or me being very interested in it and supporting it. I'm not sure. But so what I'm giving is like an example of why it is that we're using two different ones, because people need to speak up and say something when they see that, or people need to think past the issue that they're focused on and the PR that they're trying to land and say, wait a second, what's good for the project overall? Is this just a repeat, or am I doing something different than we already have? And where should I go to look that up? What do we already have? Well, it takes a little while to get familiar, whether we've got it published in a spreadsheet, what all the workflows are, or whether we've got it published in Meshery docs. Doesn't really matter. People got to go look it up either way. One might be a little more convenient for people just to go attempt to find. And so we can move, but anyway, I'm interjecting to say, well, it's because people aren't asking a question like Uzair just did, which is like, hey, wait a second. Why do we have two different methodologies for this? And that's largely my point of like bringing up bats and cuddle, two things we've used in the past. And like, how do we write less code? Anyway, so good. So it sounds like you got rid of it. We're consolidating on Testify and the test pass. And
Yeah, test are passing.
Uzair, any other comment?
No, I think not. And also like make sure like not only in this test or some particular test, everywhere you find the usage of Omega or some different library or framework, try to like normalize it, standardize it.
Done. Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, for those of you who listened to what I had just said, when you do what Uzair just said, when you normalize it and you reuse, well, that's the kind of a thing that a maintainer does. So if you start doing that, watch out, because we might try to make you a maintainer. Like, yeah, it's kind of a natural thing. So it's a very good thing. If you're thinking in that way, then
It's like you're asking for it. You'll get it.
Wait, Uzair, do you want to go a bit deeper into what you just said? Just kidding.
Are you actually interested, or you were just
No, I was joking, but I'm actually interested, but not obviously for the near future because I still have a lot to learn in order to get to that stage, but I am actually interested.
yeah, then we can like carry this conversation in Slack and carry on like other items.
Sure, don't be surprised if I tag you then.
Okay, so to land the topic, so then there's better clarity of this change, and is there any open question or feedback to give someone else? Nope. Going once, going twice. You're a mute, Ripple, but I guess you said something funny. Cool, and guess we can proceed. Cool. So what's the next topic? Not sure if we should go for the call for volunteers or anyone feels like very like urgent need to go next. Just take it and I'll be quiet. Is Sin in the call? Nope. No, he's not. Okay, then we're going for the call for volunteers. Workflows, which include the commit changes step, sometimes fail to commit to the master branch. Updates were rejected. Oh yeah, okay. So this is a long-standing topic. Does anyone want to talk about that or want to be a volunteer there?
So I think you are already aware of this issue, right? So if you like just brief it upon once again, so that anyone who is on the call can take it up if interested. So like, can you brief on the issue more or
Oh, sure.
explain
Yeah.
the issue?
Yeah, I'll explain it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so generate components. So apparently there's some workflow. So it's this one. Let me see where it is coming from. So Meshery, generate components, model component generator and updater. Yep. So it's filing right over here. And as that line mentioned, not sure who added this in the meeting minutes, but yep, there's some problem with committing these changes back. So it says that sometimes it fails.
So
Okay,
basically,
yeah,
like if there is a while the generation was going on or that workflow was running, and if there is a PR merged before that workflow kicked off, before the checkout step was performed, then at the time of committing, the master branch of the current fork repo and the master branch of the repository like go out of sync. And while committing, there is an issue happening, or because the commits are not synced, the commits are actually not pushed to the master branch, causing the workflow to fail. And we have
exactly.
seen like not only with this model generator and component updater, but like all of the workflows that use commit changes action, and that the particular action that is being used is you can find in the workflow file itself. So if we can improve this action or find some options already available, I think there might be an option of like fetching the latest changes before like committing. So I think we can reuse this, or we can use this functionality if it is already provided out of the box, or we need to otherwise build something else. But yeah, so this is the crux of the issue, and
Yep.
anyone else, anyone who is interested can take this up.
So should we create an issue? Who wants to create an issue and also who would like to fix it? It looks like a first good issue,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, seems like.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Does anyone
wonder.
want to volunteer? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I wonder if Samuel might want to pick it up. I don't know. Samuel, you're here in, this is a terrible use of the word, but in with something of a DevOps focus, I think, right? Kind of systems administration, kind of working with modern infrastructure. Is that kind of what you're into?
Yes, that's what I'm into.
Nice.
Into DevOps.
Nice, great. Yeah, this is a great call to be on. There's so much more to be done than what's being articulated in the meeting minutes, by the way. But so just like in case you don't see something that is of interest, just ask or just make some suggestions. But there's it looked like it looked like there was a bit of workflow work. The work that you guys just talked about that I'm suggesting maybe Samuel might want to investigate. It's not Golang that's involved. It's more like timing and execution of the workflows themselves and making sure that when they check out code and the workflow modifies some code, that it's doing it sequentially in the right order. Is that about what it is? Who's there?
think it's
Not
adding.
actually sequence.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Uzer said already a while back. Probably fetching right before doing the push would help, especially because by looking at this between the time the workflow started, so how long is this? I would just maybe a minute or two, I don't know. So by that point, something changed. So then the push, this commit didn't work. But so pulling, fetching right before this step would help a lot, right? That's I think that's what was Uzer suggesting based on what he said and on the meeting minutes notes added. So commit. Yep. So probably somewhere over here. Just add a fetch and see how that goes. But yeah, it's not goal line. Good point.
All right, Samuel, this is it, man.
How comfortable are you, Samuel, with this task?
Okay, I'm interested. I'll take it.
Wow. Hey, that's the spirit.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Good.
Like an auction in here. It's like, anybody go? I'll take it. All right, sold, Samuel, to the man in the black t-shirt.
All right. What else do we have? Oh yeah, the failing E2E test for Meshery adapter. I think we've talked about this before. Let's revisit. Yeah, this is failing, but it's from 3 weeks ago. So the question is it still failing? I would assume so unless someone fixes it. But yeah. Should we just drill into this, or anyone wants to say something about this? Want someone with more context as to why this fails? Suggestions?
I don't know. Maybe geez, maybe the version of Minikube is like no longer available, or that's
Well, no verbose error over here, but
maybe Minikube was already deployed up above. So that's maybe I'm off. If some of the adapters are failing to be stood up, I think there's a couple that in a very bad way don't work and fall over right away. If you look under the check adapter logs, like I don't like a couple. It ran for like 0 seconds. If you look like 5 steps up.
okay. Here?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yep, sure.
The Istio adapter seems to be reporting for duty.
So then the adapter's okay. And then what about Meshery?
Uh-oh, there's a panic.
Error reading this.
What is that about? Runtime logs.
Yeah, I think that panic is not like that is not an issue. Line number 7. I think the issue is like unable to find session for user with ID. So it is expecting a authenticated request from adapter.
Yeah. Check out line 9. Oof. Line 9 probably says like, hey, the runner that we're using, it's just not gonna, it ran out of memory.
An improvement on the flow itself. Well, maybe that's if it'd be nice if there were some variable, like if these were parsed and then like grab errors and then output them over here, mention what, but maybe that's just too much. I don't know. Just because of the nature of these tests. But yeah, going back, yeah, it seems like this is the problem or a problem.
Yeah. So there are resources available to Meshery as a project as a CNCF project that we could potentially that
Run out.
might potentially mean that we could have a bigger runner, a bigger server, or that we need to test just one adapter at a time or one Kubernetes at a time. That test adapter and all those versions, I think so the machine is running out of memory, and so it's stopping to do
deployments and
yeah
such and such.
Or Meshery itself is then not making it anywhere. At least that's what I've seen in the past for that task queue, and it's saying the consumer is not.
Could it be that running these tests doesn't do proper cleanup, and then because I missed the point that what you just said, like this run on environments that could be longer lived, and so yeah, so the suggestion seemed to be, if I understood properly, to look for using CNCF resources.
Yeah, that's one. And then, yeah, that's good. And the other one is what you had just said, which is, hey, does verifying that each step cleans up after itself, assuming that it's just reusing the same environment, which would make sense. Like, hey, some of the matrix, the matrix that's being tested in there, the test matrix for each individual Kubernetes cluster version might mean that, yeah, an analysis, somebody needs to go identify whether or not we're trying to deploy Kubernetes, Meshery, a sample app, a couple of adapters, all into the same thing.
Makes sense.
Now, also what Uzair said, what Uzair was pointing out with lines 10 and 11 on the user ID might be a separate issue, or it might be caused by running out of memory, but hard to know. Anyway, so of the folks that are on the call, this would be really helpful if somebody just did that second thing of taking a look at the flow and understanding whether or not the environment, we're overloading the environment inappropriately. Because the Ubuntu container that they're giving us, the Ubuntu VM or the container, we're installing Kubernetes, which is Minikube, Meshery, an adapter or two, probably a sample workload, probably a service mesh. Holy balls. Like at some point, yeah, it runs out of memory. And so we don't necessarily need to do all of that all the time. In part, what Daniel is trying to accomplish, So Daniel, like right here, like this is very much related to the first 110 lines that you were looking at. It's like, hey, are we standing at Meshery in a Kubernetes environment? And like, Daniel, this is one potentially for you to go look into.
Yep. I'll have a look. But
Nice.
once I finish this one,
Yep.
it's been going on for too long.
Yeah, got you.
Another way of getting volunteers, if we put all of these under GitHub issues, if that's the least someone can do, that's a good volunteer effort. And then adding the proper tags would help us look for people outside this reduced audience. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Just note, at least create GitHub issues with proper tags so we get volunteers from the community. Does that make sense? Cool.
Totally.
Excellent. Great. Going now, it's time check. Okay, we have some time. Kuma adapter test failing. Maybe the same error, but let's just not found. but this seems a different problem, right? Okay, except for this part. Yep. Not enough
I think
free
this is also the
resources.
same issue as
Except for
previous
this one, but are you aware if this is a regular output? Maybe just some warning. But yeah, but you're right. Yeah, this other one, yeah, definitely.
It looks like a separate issue to me. It looks like one of the adapters that's falling over, puking on itself.
If we look at the rest of the output, fail to get Kubernetes context. Was that part of the other one? I don't think so. Yeah, I guess we should treat them as separate issues until we're certain. But there are some resources. Check if all have started. Yeah, I mean that the outcome is the same, right? No resources in this namespace. But yeah, that'd be a premature assumption unless there more analysis is made.
No, yeah, I mean, you're right. Like the Kuma adapter fell over. It could be because it was out of memory. Probably not because it's reporting a glibc issue. And like I was saying, like, yeah, I mean, it's terrible for the project that we have published components that don't stand up. And this is why I was pointing out, this is why I mentioned it, because
This one.
but yeah.
Oh, it is required. Yeah. So probably, yeah, it could be several issues happening at the same time. Definitely, it could be the same what? Not enough free resources, but then again, even if we fix that, then we'll bump into another failure because of this. So yeah, absolutely. So let's focus on this one then, because once fixing the other issue, we'd have more context of what to do in this specific action, right? So
Yep, the Docker image for the Kuma Meshery adapter, it's probably using Alpine Linux and probably needs an update.
yep. So probably
There is some commentary on the comments. I think that addresses the same. You can copy paste from there.
you mean in the Zoom chat or?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes things faster. Okay, any volunteers? Don't be shy.
Yeah.
What about Adriel? Are you there?
I remember Adriel on the newcomers meet today. I think he has a mic issue, but I think he can
okay.
type in the comments. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Adriel Ferreira, right? From Brazil. I might have mispronounced your last name, but I remember you're from Brazil, right?
I would say it Ferreira, but that's, like us, like Latin.
Yeah.
Or...
My Spanish is not so,
it's fine.
you
It's
know,
fine. Yeah, no,
it's
no
still
worries.
in progress, underworks.
Oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'm just sharing, but your pronunciation is fine. Or then again, what about Anuja?
Yeah, I think I spoke. Sorry, Lee, go ahead.
No, just say hi. Can you
Oh,
proceed,
okay, you
please?
said hi. Okay.
Hi.
I was speaking with Lee on the chat, and I told him that I'm interested in backend focus. So he suggested me to work on Meshery CTL. So is this related to Meshery CTL, this issue?
Fair question. Fair question. Wants to answer?
Not exactly like this is not related to Meshery CTL, but the bug pointed out in the start of the meeting, like Meshery CTL system check command that is failing to perform health check that is related to Meshery CTL. I will link you to the issue that you can work on, and that is completely related to Meshery CTL. But this one is more specific about like updating the Docker image to use newer version of Alpine. So it is just in like DevOps task. So Samuel or anyone else who is into
Okay.
DevOps.
Yeah. Like for example, we use YAML files that automate certain flows. So we test, build, and do other tasks, a package, and some deployment, but mostly these other areas. So they're used across everywhere, whether it's Meshery CTL, Meshery Server, Meshery UI, even the Meshery adapters. So if you learn this, it's also a good thing because CI/CD is used everywhere. So the idea is to make things easier, right? But getting learning this tooling takes its time, and it might be frustrating initially, but it's rewarding. We just understand how things are run to get different outcomes, and this run in an automated fashion, and then whether during a pull request or commit, merging to a specific branch. So it's nice to learn, but really depends on your level of openness to just learn. But yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Anything else from anyone? So as you can see, Meshery CTL is used in this step. And fixing these kind of problems kind of helps like just understand the big picture of how things work. So if
No,
you're
yeah.
curious mind.
Mario's point is like such an excellent point. So many people come here, Sandra, this might apply to you, and don't realize that some of the things that are being asked of you prepare you for the next step. So like for Anuja, if you want to work in Golang and you haven't worked in Golang before, like, hey, here's a good way to get familiar with the project to help it be a positive impact, to help learn like what YAML, or if you know YAML or don't, like learn YAML to learn workflows, to understand how they work in this virtual environment, and how what Meshery CTL is and what function it plays. It's a great, like, hey, you're missing out on an opportunity if you don't volunteer.
The only thing that makes me apprehensive about it is I've dabbled with all of what's being talked about, so it's not unfamiliar territory for me. So that I don't feel I've had enough practice to contribute to the extent of the ask, and I don't want to create a draft PR and not complete it. I feel it's not. I understand concepts of open source, but I literally, just based on the level of work ethic and contribution that I've placed on myself, I would feel like I have failed if I do not complete it all the way through. So that's why I don't volunteer unless I am absolutely sure I am, yeah.
Yep. That's a common thing to go like experience. My 5 cents is that when things don't work as we intend to, like we learn a lot of what's missing. Maybe it's not on the individual contributor, but sometimes as a community, there's missing pieces to help or enable contributors for success in a certain area. So yeah, it's definitely hard.
Okay,
Just
you know what? Give me the
experience.
latte macchiato. What issue was asked of me? The Docker one, right? Is it a specific issue, or is it an issue that I would need to create myself, or does it already exist so that I can start working on it?
Okay, yeah, well, it looks like these don't have issues yet. So
I think Lee specifically spoke about the Meshery Kuma adapted Docker needs an image update, Alpine, with
this one, yeah.
glib. See, is there a link for
Okay,
that?
okay. Okay, I don't think there's an open GitHub issue. Is that the question?
Yeah, just something that I can read and understand what the ask is so that I can, see how to approach it and execute the ask.
So related to this, like when in one of the repositories, there was a PR by Lee, which does the same thing, updating the Alpine image to newer version. So if I find the PR for it, I will link in the Slack
Which
channel
repo?
in Meshery CI. I don't remember the repo, but I
Ah.
think Meshery itself or something. If I find it, I will link in the Meshery CI channel. So Sandra is
How
like, you can
comfortable
take a
are
look.
you with being bugged? Because I bug you a lot, but I feel like I don't get responses from you. Then I feel like you're way too busy, and then weeks and days go by. So this is just one of those. So this will be like the fourth issue that I'll be bugging you with, to remember, like, hey, do you remember the PR?
Yeah,
So
I saw your
I'll
message.
get
After the call, I will answer your query.
okay. And the one from 18 weeks ago?
I think I answered it 19 weeks ago.
Okay, sure.
Yes, I think Meshery reports itself. Yeah.
I see the Docker file, but since it was updated 6 months ago, so maybe I might be in the wrong branch. Let me get back to the good one. But yeah, basically it's this, yeah, right, something like that. But good point on the issues, like what is the ask? That's a great question. Like if we throw things like this at people, some will be better prepared for solving them, right? I think that learning how to document like issues is a good thing to consider, like helping or some guidelines. But yeah, it really depends on the area. Like
Yeah,
sometimes it's just. Go ahead.
Yep, not to interrupt, but like this could be an effective way. It's just that I just know one way right now, which is like to see the issue in GitHub, but there could be many ways. I'm just familiar with one, so that's why I just brought it up,
Yeah. For example, I'm looking for where to find the Alpine image over here. I wouldn't, if you ask me like what's the expect, I just know somewhere you need to put the Alpine image, but I think part of the solving the issue is just being comfortable with the unknown. Like there's several organizations professionally, and especially getting out of junior roles in the industry. The idea is to like be comfortable with uncertainty, changing requirements, being flexible, and even if the ask is not, maybe the ask is like you know what to do but not how to do it. It's kind of hard, and it's fine. Like it's something that like a skill, like to just getting more comfortable with the technical landscape, and it's normal, like not to know what to do, and um but it's just the growing pains, at least that's my experience, but everyone's experience is different and doesn't have to be that way. Yeah, but yeah, sometimes I don't know if we do this in the community, but pairing with someone is also helpful. Just reviewing PRs kind of helps you like know, oh, okay, someone solved X issue and this is the issue. Sometimes the issues are just like, oh, fix this, like not much detail, right? But then you see, oh, this is the other PR that fixed it, and then you look at that, and then gives you a lot of context about like just between all the haystack, just a couple of needles to look at, and then you start identifying what solves what and how things work, and yeah, reviewing PRs is a good example, but then again, there's a lot of different context, and just between a single project, a lot of different YAMLs and actions, workflows. But eventually, like if just like patience will reward curious minds, definitely. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, so to summarize, I will wait for Uzair to tag me in Slack regarding this, and if I don't hear back from him today, I will bug him tomorrow. On top of everything else. Okay. Sounds fun till then.
Cool. So yeah, so then let's say Uzair and Sandra will pair. Or peer program pair with this. That's it. Guess yeah, we're out of time. Yeah, definitely. So let's just wrap it up. And yep. Until next time. Thanks all.
Yep.